pretty excited, nervous, and happy to be here. Hope the same for you. We are here to discuss a very important topic, which is into the buzzword, I would say these days, blockchain, transforming the future of supply chain, bringing in more transparency and trust. So I would like to welcome my panelists here along with me. So Victor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. My name is Victor Amaya. I am the CEO and co-founder of Vertex Studio. We are a games and simulation company. We've been working with AI and blockchain technologies for quite a few years. We are building games, and we've been working with many companies such as DARPA, the Department of Defense of the United States. We've had experience working with companies such as Game of Thrones. And right now we are launching our own blockchain protocol, which is called SugarFunge. You can find it on sugarfunge.com. SugarFunge is a blockchain protocol that enables companies and enterprise-level solutions for blockchain technologies to build privately owned economies such as games and decentralized applications.
Perfect. Ernesto, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. Well, hello, my real name is Satoshi Nakamoto. No, it's not true. My name is Ernesto Wattson. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SL Innovation and Solution, and also WWWC Research Capital, that are part of our corporation companies. We are based in the United States. We have like 7 years working with different technologies, especially focused on blockchain. We're trying to develop different projects on blockchain beyond cryptocurrency. You know, when we talk about blockchain everywhere, the people, the first topic or the first word that they got in their minds are Bitcoin. But the real truth is that blockchain is more than that. Blockchain is a completely new technology, a completely different technology based on cryptography, where the secure is probably the most important thing, and the decentralized are the most important thing. And also, it brings a different way to make the automatization of the processes on the company. So it's a very pleasure to be here and share with all of you all these days. And probably we can talk a lot. We can make business together, because at the end we are interested in make business together. This is not to be here and talking about our technologies or talking about what we thought. At the end, the story is make business and make money for all our companies. So thank you, and it's a very nice experience to share with all of you here.
Thank you, Ernesto. Thank you. So I am one of the co-founders of Aggregator, and we are into the agriculture supply chain. I come from India. My co-founder is here, right, sitting there in the audience. We are building an ecosystem which enables all the stakeholders of the supply chain, right from the people cleaning and polishing the commodities, the dry commodities, and we are helping them with trade, finance, and on-spot logistics. Quite an interesting work, because India being a little skeptical about going digital in terms of agriculture becomes a challenge, but then we are here supported by the technology to bring that trust into everyone's heart and help them move towards a more digitalized transaction phase of the entire business. So, Ernesto, my first question is for you. How do you think, what would be the principal benefits blockchain technology would bring to the supply chain industry?
Oh, wow. It's a very important question. Let's see, let's go to the beginning. You know, what is blockchain? Probably could be the first part of my answer. And blockchain, at the end of the story, blockchain could define as an immutable layer. The most important thing is that the data there is immutable. So blockchain will bring to the supply chain industry a lot of benefits, like, for example, trust. Right now, the trust is probably one of the most important weeks at the supply chain industry. Also, probably the most important is the that blockchain will bring and the automatization through smart contracts of many of the activities that supply chain industry is running. And you know what? For me, the most important thing is traceability or trace. And blockchain brings that. With blockchain, we can trace every movement that we made in the data that we are running. So the customers or the managers or the audit people could see every movement that are happening on the system every time, everywhere. So that's probably one of the most important benefits that blockchain will have in the supply chain industry.
Absolutely, Ernesto. Coming from the agriculture background, I also find that neat because people are becoming very curious these days about where their food is coming from, and was it produced organically, or was it used, like a lot of chemicals were used in producing those crops. So people have become too inquisitive about knowing the exact places the particular commodity has traveled. So blockchain is going to help that, and it is going to push forward a lot of trust in the system. Um, Victor, why don't you share your experiences? I believe you have products in the market using blockchains.
Yeah, actually, we have a few private economies that are operating on top of sugar funch, and basically one of the simulations that we've created is a ride-sharing application for women in that is connecting Central America. So what we're creating is a trustless application that is on top of blockchain that allows for women to have a safer connection to a transportation vehicle, or also kids, women and children, because of situations that have happened in the past, as many of you may know already, where they've gone out in the middle of the night and have something happen to them, right? And this is a dangerous situation. So we created a private blockchain, consortium blockchain for a ride-sharing application that will help to connect and become more transparent. And then we've also implemented blockchain on a supply chain level in a blockchain-based company that is doing similar to an Uber for logistics. What this allows is for the simulation of the supply chain process, similar to the nature of the digital twin technology that is developed by Azure, using NFT technologies and smart contracts to automate processes and allow for the supply chain to become a bit more autonomous.
All right. We all keep talking about bringing blockchain into the different products. But what do you think, Ernesto, how difficult it is for small-scale startups to introduce blockchains?
Well, that is probably one of the most important problems or situations that we are having. That is knowledge, because blockchain is a completely different way to make the things, and it is not only to know about how to program or how to read the code of blockchain. Probably it's also understand the situation that blockchain is also bringing, create smart contracts, and also that, it is not only to have the knowledge. Probably the most difficult thing is explain it. So that's why we are trying to create different products where we are, something like translating the code of blockchain, trying to present it as a understandable way. For example, we create a blockchain database that is a normal database, but based it on a background in a blockchain. But at the end, in the front end, you will see a normal database. So that anyone who manages databases around the world could manage this database. But the code real is blockchain down this. So, something that I want to say is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, we was talking about IoT. Right now, many companies are moving around the IoT, but blockchain is IOV. That is the Internet of Value, because Blockchain is bringing value to the companies, is bringing savings, is bringing automation, is probably the faster way to move to the digital transformation.
I totally agree with you on that point, Ernesto. But I just have one more point to add to that.
Yeah.
Blockchain adds a lot of value, but the resources are very costly. For a small scale startup to bring in people to do to build a product which can scale within few weeks, within few days, requires experienced people coming in, and then it becomes a heavy cost for a lot of people.
Yeah, right now, the people who knows about blockchain is high value people and high cost people probably.
Fair enough. So, do you think, Victor, there would be threats to the industry if too much of involvement of blockchain comes in? There will be a threat to the privacy of too much of information available on the internet, because today we are too confident that, okay, everything is safe, secure, but we haven't seen tomorrow, because we see a lot of things coming up in the market, a lot of new generation people doing different kinds of things. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I don't believe that privacy is a threat because I think that blockchains, the nature of the blockchain and the way that consensus can be defined on the blockchain, it's only natural for companies in the supply chain industry to adopt this technology at some point in their future. But the way that they will adopt it, it will depend, right? Because, for example, companies like Amazon, they may want to have a more transparent blockchain and the data to be more accessible. But companies, for example, they need to take into consideration the privacy because of for example, the delicate nature of the contents that are being transported. And therefore, a blockchain most likely will not be made available online or publicly. There are, I believe, four different types of blockchains out there in terms of consensus. There are public economies and private consortium blockchains. So I think for a logistic company that is moving valuable goods, they would want to keep certain autonomy of their own system, and that's why they operate private economies.
Ernesto, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, let's see, probably for my point of view, the security is probably one of the most important things in companies, and blockchain brings that. But the security where? That is the point. Where do you need the security? Before we was listen the first presentation regarding artificial intelligence or also business intelligence. In all those cases, you need data. In all those cases, the most important thing is the data. And many companies are based their security on the net or on different layers. Blockchain brings security on the data. The most important thing for blockchain is to care the data. So that's why my position is that blockchain is probably the most secure technology that we have right now in the world.
Great, let's hope it remains that way.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, Ernesto, in your experience so far, have you seen the weaknesses in the form of adoption, in convincing the stakeholders adopting the blockchain technology? Do you find any kind of resistance towards the adoption from the industry?
Yes, a lot, because first of all, we was talking about that, the knowledge. Not a lot of people knows about blockchain. So when you don't know a lot of something, it brings you, I don't know, probably fear or scare regarding to adopt these kind of technologies. Also, the people the company used to have, a weight that are following, and many of those companies doesn't have blockchain on their minds because they never listen about blockchain. And remember my first words at the beginning of this conference, this topic, is that when you talk about blockchain, the people thought in Bitcoin. and cryptocurrencies has a lot of resistance around the world in government, in financial institutions, and many other kind of companies. So when we talk about blockchain, the people thought in cryptocurrencies, and they say, no, no, we don't want nothing with cryptocurrencies. So, but that's why we're trying to talk about a lot of blockchain around the world, because this is more than that. Blockchain is a very important technology, and probably will make everything easy for the companies when they turn to blockchain technology.
True, I totally agree, Ernesto. The thing is, we are also facing a lot of challenges because the Indian government doesn't
Yeah.
legalize the cryptocurrency.
Agree.
So we have to develop our own kind of smart contracts, not basically the blockchain ones, but then we'll have to figure out a way to come up with something like that, similar to it. That becomes a challenge for a lot of startups, I would say, in the country, in the industry, for us. So you are right about that. What are your thoughts? Were you facing any difficulty while developing the products or bringing in new projects involving blockchain?
Actually, that brings up a really good point that I think Ernesto mentioned. El Salvador, as you know, is a country that has recently adopted legal tender. Our headquarters are based out of El Salvador. So we were part of the initial movement. It's very interesting to see what is being done in smaller countries like Africa, smaller communities in Africa, and that is the same way that it started in El Salvador. Actually, there's a small town on the beach that is called Bitcoin City now, actually, and this small town on the beach, they started giving away small amounts of Bitcoin. So what happened was that the small vendors that were located around in the city, they started accepting Bitcoin, and a lot of the tourists started paying in Bitcoin, and they started creating their own little economy or their little own private ecosystem, and that started growing because of the fact that the small store owner, they would want to pay for their shipment from Coca-Cola or from the water or from the rice or the multiple grains in Bitcoin. And then the bigger companies started to take interest in accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. So at the moment that the Salvadorian government passed the law and made Bitcoin officially a legal tender in El Salvador, a lot of the big companies were ready to accept the payment in Bitcoin because they were already seeing the traction. So it's very interesting to see how Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is not being imposed from the top down, but it's sort of being adopted because everyone naturally just is moving into the technology because they're seeing the benefits. Small store owners, they're seeing a lot less transaction fees, quicker payments, and they don't have to go drive all the way to the city to get cash. And El Salvador is a country that is maintained a lot from external imports of money, family members that have migrated away to the United States, for example, and they send $100 here, $100 there. That is how our economy has survived for a very long time, and the fact that they are normally people that send $200. They have to drive for 30 minutes or take a 30-minute bus ride to the inner city to withdraw the money and then come back. That is a cost of time and also economic cost of the transportation. But now with they have their wallet. You send your family member your wallet address and then you could just deposit that. So I think the adoption starts from anywhere, right? So I think that is a little bit of what.
Correct. I think trust is a synonym for blockchain right now because people are looking for that trust, that history, that information right to the minutest level about everything. And again, mentioning the industry I come from, it becomes a very vital role. It plays a very vital role in how the things are turning up on your plate. And people really want to dig deeper into it. So that's the way things are these days. And I think I would open the floor for you in case you want to add something else. My questions.
No, No, I don't know. Probably it's very important to talk about some use cases that we can share with the audience regarding blockchain. I don't know you Victor, also Charu and Victor, what you can share regarding use cases that or project that you are right now running with blockchain in the supply chain industry, or probably you can also share different that is not specifically from the supply chain, but are it's trying to show that blockchain is already running on the world, because that is probably one of the most difficult things to explain. That right now there are companies that are showing value through the blockchain. So I don't know, you Charu or Victor, what can you share regarding that?
We are we are still adapting blockchain at this stage in the country. There are a lot of startups which are coming up with different concepts these days, which ensure the movement of the grains or movement of the perishable items, and they are making sure what stops they are taking, how they are being transported from one place to another. So blockchain is kind of transforming the way things have been handled so far. There were a lot of discrepancies between people trading, between the stakeholders trading for a commodity. There were a lot of brokers and middlemen involved. So now that introduction of the blockchain is reducing that and giving them a chance to get into good smart contracts, do a lot of transaction directly, follow a step of ways how the transaction would turn out. So I would say this is going to be a transformational change, but coming from the country where I belong to, this will be a slow process. But yes, startups like us will keep trying, push harder every day so that it comes out in a little better way. People adapt it very quickly and move on with things that, okay, this can actually bring in that trust, traceability, and it will also reduce the administrative costs as well.
Yeah. And for your case, Victor, do you have any use cases?
So yeah, I think
You're working a lot in the gaming industry, but also you can share the experience that you have with blockchain with your industry also.
yeah, for sure. I think one of the interesting things that we should probably talk about are DAOs, and the importance that they would play not only in the supply chain industry, but also in the year 2022 and beyond that.
Yep.
How do you think DAOs will impact the way that organizations or companies, specifically in the supply chain maybe, how do you think that the DAOs will impact the way that decisions are made across organizations in the future?
Well, that's a very interesting question. For example, in our case, SL Innovation in Solution is trying to turn in a different way, in trying to transform in a DAC, not in a DAO, more probably in a DAC. There is a decentralized autonomic company. So where the most important thing is there are not scales or different kind of position. Everyone is the boss. Everyone on the company has the opportunity to lead everyone that he can. So we're trying to turn on that. So it is difficult when we came from the old fashion to make the things. You need a CEO, you need a financial manager, you need all those things are probably very common in our companies, but with the DAOs, that could bring could make everything easy, because if you are the operation lead, you don't need to go to the CEO and ask permission to make a change or whatever, because everything is based on the trust. Everything is based on the blockchain has everything documented, and no one can make anything out of the smart contracts or what the smart contracts are permitting. So that will bring, as I said, trust, secure, and the things will be fast. You can make everything a little fast. That's probably my position regarding that topic. I don't know what you talk about, Charu.
No, you covered it all.
We have two very nice experience with blockchain with companies around the world. One is in Latin America, and the other one is in the U.S. And this is regarding for example, a milk company, the company that produces milk, and they decide to turn into the blockchain technology. So what they are doing is to give the opportunity to the customer, adding value to the packing, that they can trace the chain of production, the production history of the milk. So with a QR code at the end of the story, the customer, final customer, could scan the code, and he could have the opportunity to trace every step of the supply chain of the production of the milk. So that is adding value to the final customer, because they can have the right, or they can be sure of the product that they are consuming. So you don't know right now if the coffee that we drink this morning was produced, I don't know where, or when. We don't have that right now, or that sure. In this case, with blockchain, you could have the completely sure of the information that you are having with your product. So that's why blockchain is bringing probably a value, an important value to the world. So that's where we are trying to be positioned right now. And also, it is true, we are also working a lot with cryptocurrencies, because that is a very, very, very important business, and everything will turn in crypto or digital money in the near future, probably.
Same here with us, actually. I'll just give a use case of how aggregator developed, because we started small. We helped people get the logistic arrangements for all the trades were happening between the stakeholders, be it a local mill or an industry buying and selling grains, or maybe an exporter buying it from a local mill, which has a production capacity of 3,000, 5,000 metric tons. So people were looking forward to a logistic solution, a person who could help them with broader spectrum of trades, because they've been working in their silos for decades. They just trust the people they have worked with in the past.
Sure.
They have this fear of going out, meeting new people, because it's a huge transactional value. One truck would go for $1 million value. So that becomes a very big problem. So we started small. We were trying to solve that problem, bring in the transparency, where we were meeting two people, helping two people meet and do the transaction, do the money transfers through us, and they would get those transparent invoice generations. They would be helped with finances. But then eventually, over a period of time, we realized that people are very specific about the quality of the grain that is getting transported, because they fear, okay, I do this trade with this particular third-party platform, but what is the guarantee that what gets loaded gets delivered to me? So there brings the blockchain concept here, where people are assured that, okay, whatever is getting loaded is the exact quality they were looking for. They know the origination of the particular crop, and they can actually make sure where it is traveling and what. In fact, we take care of the entire route. Whether how many tolls they have stopped at, and everything to the minutest level. So
also for the governments, because the tax will be traceable also. Right now, probably that is one of the most important issues that the blockchain industry has, is that the companies are in many countries are not paying the real quantity of taxes that they have to pay. But with blockchain, that is impossible, because everything is in a smart contract. Everything is completely documented and traceable. So everybody is having a benefit with this.
absolutely, valuable things like gold and pharmaceutical companies are going to benefit a lot from blockchain, I would say, because you can actually track the entire journey of all the medicines that you're taking.
Yes, it is. So I don't know if you have any other question, or the audience has any question for us. There's one hand.
Well, I have a quick question from a technical side. If like the milk industry example that you gave, Ernesto, would you ask that company which set up that entire blockchain set up on a public blockchain or a private blockchain? What are the cost implications and the internet connectivity issues, and what ifs when things actually go wrong? You have low latency or no bandwidth. How do you handle such a case?
You want to answer it?
Yeah, sure. So I guess your question was, just in case everyone was heard correctly, what would you do in the case of internet connectivity issues? In the case that you're running a private blockchain, basically, right?
It depends on the business, probably.
So it depends on what exactly you're trying to do, because, for example, a government would most likely want to do a publicly owned blockchain, but make it accessible on some layers. There is a way to provide accessibility to publicly owned blockchains, but still regulating certain rules that needs to be followed. So there is ways to make it public, but also regulated, and then things like Bitcoin, for example, that is completely public and autonomous. So in the case of, for example, you have issues with latency for a privately owned blockchain. You have these nodes that are existing on the network independently. So it's not depending on one server. That's the beauty of blockchain as well, because it's not depending on one particular server. Because the blockchain in and of itself can live in many places. It's not like, for example, the servers of a typical centralized application, where they're, for example, being stored in AWS and they're racking up high levels of cost. But in this case, for example, many people or many miners, validators and stuff like that can run nodes.
Yeah, I used to call them, miners are probably the word that we are using on the crypto way. There are processors that are making certification of the each transaction. At the end of the story, the difference between the public blockchain or a private blockchain is who have access to be a certificate or be a miner into the way the red, right? That is the most important difference that it has, and depends on the business that you are managing or trying to work with. Probably a private blockchain will be better. From my point of view, every private company could have a private blockchain. But for example, the cryptocurrencies turn into the public because of the business that they are managing. Because it is a worldwide business, and it's not regulated business. It's very easy to work and easy to audit everything. So probably for the supply chain industry where we are talking right now, a public blockchain could be better because this is a global business right now. But for a private company, for a private bank, probably could be easy to manage a private blockchain and has all the business of the bank in probably still a little more private. No, good question. Any other question?
Yeah, it's over.
It sounds
Sounds like it works.
No, but
moment he hands it
something wrong there.
I,
Thank you for the excellent discussion. Mine is sort of a follow-up question to what what Gautam asked previously, and little bit operational sort of technology. So we hear about blockchain being able to be deployed in various business scenarios, like the milk company that you described, and probably other supply chain or logistics and stuff like that. Now, whenever we talk of tech associated with blockchain, most of the times what comes out is actually crypto. Not specifically blockchain as a tech, but it generally comes associated with Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. So that's the technology that comes up. When I'm going a little bit deeper into the technology itself, when we talk of libraries or clients to be used, that's what usually comes up. So if we want to look at blockchain in an enterprise setup, what are few technical projects or open source projects or even paid ones, proprietary ones, that we can look at? That's the first one. And the second one, now just extending the milk company example that you gave. So let's say we're trying to track the genuineness of the product from the source to the destination.
Yeah.
If a company is maintaining a private blockchain, it has all the capabilities to actually alter the history, right? Technically. So whenever it needs, if it wants to do a hard fork, it can do a hard fork and build the blockchain again. It probably is very costly, but if it's a high stakes thing like pharmacy, if it's something where the data that's actually published through blockchain is really valuable, the company has all the power to actually do a hard fork and give an entirely different history, right? Am I right there?
That really depends, because the blockchains are not necessarily something that is completely autonomous, or sort of, for example, you can't. This is why the DAO it should exist in most companies, right? You can't just decide where the blockchain is going to go, because if you have something that will alter entirely the nature of the data that has been stored for many years, this shouldn't be a decision that is taken by one person only. This is why mostly communities are the ones that power entire ecosystems, and that is why so many people are behind Ethereum, so many people are behind Binance Smart Chain, and technology. Just most of the projects are powered by people. So the people have stake, and they have stakeholders. So if they see that there's going to be this huge fork or this huge change in shift in strategy, then someone has to have that insight as to, hey, this is going to alter our core fundamentals. And from the other perspective, I think from the privately owned economy side of things, there are multiple shareholders, right, in the privately owned economy. So, like he said, it's not just one CEO, and then you have multiple people behind the decentralized organization, and you can't just hard fork and erase data. It has to go through consensus, and consensus is based on the governance that was mutually agreed upon when establishing the blockchain originally. I'll give my colleagues,
I'll say just one line. With great powers comes great responsibilities. So we need to be very careful about what we are storing, where we are storing, how it is controlled, how it is regulated, how many people have the control over it, how many people can't even think about changing it. Yes, I do agree with the limitations you mentioned. We thought of bringing in blockchain smart contracts, but then because of the cryptocurrency, we couldn't do it. So we had to step back and think something different, which is a little alternative to the smart contract, but works on a similar line. So that are the hurdles. To answer to the last question asked, yes, bandwidth also plays a major role. In India, where we are trying to reach are the areas where the network is really bad, even today. So that is quite a hurdle for us, a challenge for us. But yes, eventually I think by the time the tech advances, in a couple of years, we would be seeing those advancements in the countries in terms of data, in terms of network coverage area. So I think that would also reduce a lot of problems there.
Yeah. No, I'm agree with you too. So we can go to the other question.
I think just for your first question, one of the really, really great technologies that are coming up is a technology that is developed by Polkadot. The company that is called Parity. Gavin Wood is the co-founder, the founder of Parity. He was the co-founder and the CTO of Ethereum originally. And they created Polkadot, which is one of the biggest networks in cryptocurrencies out there right now. And Polkadot was built originally on Substrate. Substrate is an open source library that is built upon Rust. Rust is a high-level programming language, you already know. So yeah, Substrate is definitely a way to go if you're looking at privately owned blockchains. You have parachains to the Polkadot network that connect to an array of multiple different sources, and then so if we're talking about that, substrate is sort of like a more layer 1 solution. And then sugar funch, for example, is more of a layer 2 that is also publicly available in GitHub. And then you can consume the resources from sugar funch that have like ways that you can modify DAO, for example, or custom governance, liquidity pools, automated market makers, and stuff like that. So those are just a few options.
Yes. No more time for questions, or
Yeah, can we take one more question?
what? Last one question. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it very quickly.
There is our last question for this topic, but if any of you have any other topic or question, we will be here around.
Hi, Michael Holman with Brasaga. So my question is more around functionality. And the question is around composability. How are you solving for composability? When you're in supply chain, automobile supply chain, for instance, each part is a smart contract. Yes. And you have a potential million parts that make up a vehicle. You cannot do composability through smart contracts. This is why IBM actually got out of blockchain, because of the fact that they could only do simple track and trace. QR code, it's here now, yeah. It's here now, it's here now. But nothing in order to do full composability and provenance from the end unit all the way down to the raw supplier.
I completely agree. You know, to turn the supply chain industry to blockchain is nothing easy, and it is not probably fast to do it. Right now we have 40 years with the same kind of processes that the supply chain industry is running. You know, since 1980 they are having the same kind of processes and creating more and more processes. And all those million of activities that they are doing is because of the way that they are doing the things now. With blockchain, we can reduce many of those activities to probably not one or two, but probably 1,000 activities. But it takes time. And there is a project that we have to run step by step. And first, you know, the traceability of the packages, then the freight forwarding activities, and the produce activities. There is probably a slow motion project, but it's something that happens. It's something that must happen in the near future. Probably we are trying to move forward very fast with this and talking about this, and someone have to begin.
Yeah, so just really quickly, just to end your question, we're actually solving this with robotics. So what we're doing is that we're creating simulation for through escrow services. So we're kind of creating escrow type wallets and bundle type assets so that we can have multi-level composability through escrow.
All right, just in case anybody's interested, that's one of the things that our project did solve by getting rid of smart contracts and implementing the first-class object model. So and we've got a demo on it, so if anybody would like to see, we'd love to show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone.